Have you ever thought about the clues your own body might be giving you? Sometimes it feels like a biological detective story. And today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating one that starts with something you can see right on your own hands. So what is it? What is your body trying to tell you when a finger takes on this very unique drumstick shape? Let's follow the evidence together and see if we can crack this case. All right, so every good investigation starts with that first piece of evidence, right? Before we can even begin to understand the cause, we have to know exactly what it is we're looking at.
Okay, so the official medical term for this is clubbing. And this isn't just some general swelling. It's a very specific, kind of bulbous enlargement of the soft tissue right at the tips of the fingers or even the toes that gives it that unmistakable drumstick look.
You know, this is so specific that doctors can actually measure it. They use something called the Lavibond angle. Now, if you look at a normal finger, you'll see a slight little dip, a little angle where the nail meets the skin. But with clubbing, that angle just vanishes. The nail bed actually gets pushed up, flattening the angle out to more than 180 degrees, and that is a huge piece of evidence.
And here's the crucial point. Clubbing isn't a disease in itself. Not at all. Think of it more like the check engine light on your car's dashboard. It's a flashing warning sign, pointing to a more serious problem happening somewhere deep inside. So let's trace that signal back to its source.
And wow, the list of potential triggers is surprisingly broad. We're talking about really serious conditions here. Things like lung cancer, chronic infections, various heart conditions, and even inflammatory issues like Crohn's disease or cirrhosis. The fact that so many different problems can cause the same sign tells us we're looking for a common link, right? Some fundamental process that they all share.
And here we go. We found the common denominator. It turns out all these different diseases can lead to two key states in the body. One is hypoxia. That's just a fancy word for low blood oxygen. And the other is chronic inflammation. These are our master triggers. This is what sets the entire biological mystery in motion.
So, now that we've identified the trigger, our investigation leads us to the lungs. Now, you might not know this, but your lungs act as a kind of biological filter. But in these disease states we just talked about, something starts slipping through the cracks.
Okay, let me introduce you to our cells of interest. They're called megakaryocytes. Just think of these as giant precursor cells. Their normal job is to travel to the lungs, where this huge network of tiny blood vessels basically breaks them apart into tiny platelets, which, are absolutely essential for helping your blood to clot. So under normal circumstances, the lungs work like a perfect sieve, breaking down these big cells just as they should. But when a chronic disease is present, maybe because of damaged lung tissue, or maybe because of shunts in the heart, this filtering system fails. The megakaryocytes manage to bypass the filter. And just like that, these oversized cells escape from their designated processing zone. They get dumped into the main arterial highway of the body, and now they're traveling to places they were never, ever supposed to go.
So, where do these cellular escapees end up? Well, they travel through the bloodstream for as long as they can, until they hit a dead end, getting cornered in the furthest reaches of the circulatory system.
And that journey ends in the fingertips. Why there? Well, it's pretty much just simple mechanics. The capillaries in your fingertips are incredibly narrow. They're way too small for these large, runaway megakaryocytes to squeeze through, so they get stuck. And that creates a microscopic traffic jam.
But these trapped cells, they don't just sit there quietly. Oh no. Being stuck like that triggers a kind of distress signal. They start releasing this cocktail of really powerful chemicals that are about to dramatically change the whole local environment.
So the first chemical messenger is called PDGF, or platelet-derived growth factor. Its job is to act like a construction foreman. It basically tells the local cells, which are called fibroblasts, to start building, to lay down extra layers of connective tissue and collagen.
The second messenger is called VEGF, or vascular endothelial growth factor. This one has a totally different job. It encourages new blood vessels to grow, and it makes the existing vessels leakier, which, you guessed it, causes fluid to start building up in the surrounding tissue.
So now we have all the pieces. We've got these trapped cells, and they're releasing construction signals and plumbing signals. Let's connect this whole microscopic cascade to that final, visible sign we started with.
It's really a clear chain of events. First, the growth factors get released. In response, new tissue and new blood vessels start to grow like crazy. Then, fluid leaks out and builds up under the nail. You combine all of that, and it causes the soft tissue of the fingertip to swell up and get kind of spongy.
And here it is. This is where we solve the mystery. All of that new tissue building up underneath the nail physically pushes the nail bed upwards and outwards. It is this pressure that forces the nail to curve, completely eliminating that normal Lauber-Bond angle and creating the drumstick shape we saw at the very beginning.
So here's our complete case file. It's this perfect chain of causation. It all starts with a chronic disease, far away in the body, which leads to a filtering failure in the lungs that allows cells to get trapped in the fingers, where they release chemicals that cause tissue to grow, which results in the final, visible sign of clubbing. It's pretty amazing.
This quote from the source material really just sums it up perfectly. It's not just random swelling. It's a very specific process that involves blood vessels and tissue growth, and the whole thing is kicked off by a chronic illness somewhere else.
And I think the ultimate takeaway here is just how interconnected our bodies truly are. A simple visible change on the outside can actually be the final chapter of a really complex story that's been happening deep on the inside.
And that leaves us with a final, fascinating question. If a drumstick finger can tell a story this complex, what other hidden stories are our bodies trying to tell